don't you get up to the front?
We are members of the Magnolia Hillbillies 4-H Club. Our skit is titled, Never Again. This story takes place at a meeting the night before fair. The kids were all excited to show their projects the next day at the county fair. They looked forward to this all year. They all agreed to work on the projects the night at the meeting before fair, so it wouldn't be so stressful for the parents. As some of you parents and former 4-Hers in the audience know, last-minute 4-H projects can be quite stressful, and lots of things can, and usually do, go wrong. It was a late night in July, just hours away from the start of the county fair. The 4-Hers were show their projects the next day. The kids were having a great time watching their projects take shape. This is what they looked forward to all year. Everyone was busy putting the finishing touches on their projects and trying to get their write-ups done. Those dreaded write-ups are the last thing anyone wants to do and tries to put them off as long as possible. Connor and Haley used their grandmother's blue ribbon recipe for the French bread. They followed the recipe perfectly, and the bread looked so beautiful while it was baking. They were so proud of having it done all by themselves. They decided to call their grandmother and tell her about the bread. They forgot to set the timer, and when they got off the phone, 2 hours later, the bread was so burnt you couldn't even tell what it was. Mariah made a beautiful sculpture out of clay and took it outside to finish drying, and didn't realize it had started to rain. You can guess what it looked like after an inch of rain. It was one big ball of clay. It was too late to start over, so it became her own piece of creative art. Courtney and Kara were putting the finishing touches on their poster and spilled the paint all over the front of them. The stores were all closed and they couldn't buy any more poster board. There was nothing else to do but to take it like it was. Audrey had sewn a dress that she was going to wear in the style show later on in the week. When she was done hemming it, she cut the thread and the scissors slipped and cut a large slit in the front of her dress. Jaden was so proud of her photography projects. She just knew that they were going to get a purple ribbon on at least one of them. She took them to get them developed at the 24-hour photo store and came back so upset. They had all turned out so dark, you couldn't even tell what they were. And it was too dark outside to take any more pictures. Claire was giving her prized exotic chicken a bath the night before the show. She must have put the water just a little bit too warm, and the chicken came out of the water without any feathers. Now, how was she explaining to this judge? Well, if anyone could pull this off, it would be Claire. Evan tried to make a batch of cookies from a new recipe he found in a cookbook. Something must have been left out, because they were just a little bit hard. Who knew you were supposed to measure the flour? Ava was practicing her dance routine for the talent show, and the tape went crazy, and Grant couldn't fix it in time, so he took care of it. She would have to do it without any music. Now this should be interesting. Ben always had the most beautiful New Zealand white rabbits for the show, but not this year. He was rinsing it off when the water turned a funny color, and so did his rabbit. He tried for hours to get it clean, but it was not to be. He would have to show the rabbit blue, but he would explain it as a new breed. Madison had just finished getting her formal table setting ready, and she tripped and broke all of the dishes. She went to Plan B and used paper plates and plastic silverware to make a picnic. Sometimes it takes quick thinking. Jaden made a pretty quilt and realized she had forgotten to sew the binding around the outside. How was it going to keep from falling apart? Oops. Nathan had been practicing his educational presentation on the life of a sheep for several days. He had it perfect and was very pleased with himself. The only problem was he had done it so many times he lost his voice, and all that was come out was a little squeak. Maya had been working on a game for a child development project and decided she better not take it too fair because Eowyn got tangled up in it every time she tried to play it. She would try to fix the problem before next year's fair. Ethan picked some vegetables from his garden to take to the fair and found out that Ben's rabbit had